Hello guys! Welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Lakwatsirong Butiki. Mula doon sa makasaysayang simbahan ng Ternate, Cavite, ang Santo Niño de Ternate Parish Church o mas kilala rin sa pangalan na Ternate Church. Nakatawid na ako ngayon dito sa makasaysayang rin na simbahan ng Maragondon, Cavite, ang Our Lady of the Assumption Parish Church o mas kilala rin sa pangalan na Maragondon Church. Samahan niyo ako dito guys! The municipality of Maragondon is a third-class municipality in the province of Cavite. According to the 2020 census, it has a population of 40,687 people. The name Maragondon is a Spanish approximation of the Tagalog word Maragondong or Madagondong, which means having a rumbling or thunderous sound. This refers to the noise coming from the Albaran River in the village of Kapantayan. This was initially the place on which the town was to be built. However, due to the floods caused by the frequent overflowing of the river, the town was later relocated to its present site. The Our Lady of the Assumption Parish Church, commonly known as Maragondon Church, is the only heritage structure in the municipality of Maragondon, Cavite, declared by the National Museum as a National Cultural Treasure. The historic town of Maragondon in Cavite Province, known for its rich history and its role in the Philippine Revolution as the place of exile and execution of God Andres Bonifacio. The lasting testament of the town's history is the centuries-old church dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary under the title of Nuestra Señora de la Asunción, which became a bastion of faith in the said local and on off-the-key Marian sites in Cavite. There were three images of the Blessed Virgin Mary as Nuestra Señora de la Asunción de Maragondon, the original altar image, the altar image, and the processional image. The original image is a wooden detallado image of the Blessed Mother with ivory hands and face of oriental features. She wears a golden yellow dress with a blue cape draped gracefully on her back and shoulders, wears a rostrello on her face, stands on a cloud base with little angels and a crescent moon, and hands in prayer position. The fingers of the original image were broken since during the early years. Devotees would cut out pieces of her hands as if they were anting-anting, which is such belief was highly discouraged by the church. A unique feature of the original image is that her face, aside from its original features, it seems to evoke two expressions when the beholder looks at the image on a different angle. If the beholder looks at the image on the right, it appears that she is smiling, while if it is observed on the left side, she appears to be solemn and serene. The second image is the altar image, which is known as the Birhing Nakatayo, where the Virgin stands upright. her hands placed downwards like those of the Virgin of the Miraculous Middle, her eyes looking upwards, and her head tilted backwards. Just like the original image, the Virgin stands on a cloud base with putti and wears a golden dress, yet her blue mantle is draped on her right side and curved as if it was blown by the wind. The Virgin wears a veil, a crown, and a diagnostic 12 estrellas. The third image is the processional image known as the Birhing Nakaupo, which is the de-visitor image of the Blessed Virgin Mary seated on a cloud base with putti. Her hands rest slightly above her knees, looking upwards with a smiling countenance. The Virgin wears a set of vestments made from different materials and designs, a veil, and her diagnostic 12 estrellas. Unfortunately, the original ivory head of the Birhing Nakaupo was sacrilegiously stolen sometime in the late 1980s to early 1990s, and its whereabouts are still unknown as of this writing. A wooden replacement was immediately commissioned that can still be seen today. A replica of the Birhing Nakaupo was also commissioned for the caracol that is done on the eve of the feast. The devotion to Nuestra Señora de la Asunción de Maragondon dates back to 1585 with the arrival of the Franciscan missionaries in Cavite and began their teaching work in Silang, Indang, and Maragondon. In Maragondon, and each visita was established as part of Silang in 1595 until this mission was turned over to the Jesuits in 1599. The Jesuits formally took over Maragondon in 1611, and in 1614, Reverend Father Angelo Amano, S.J., made the necessary preparations to establish a parish in the area, which took place in 1618, and it was formally established in 1627 under the patronage of the Blessed Virgin Mary as Nuestra Señora de la Asunción. The townsfolk of Maragondon bought an image of Our Lady of the Assumption from Manila made of wood and ivory for their visita in 1620. When the chapel became a parish, the current altar image was commissioned sometime in the 1700s, which will be later known as Birhing Nakatayo. Then, years later, the seated processional image known as Birhing Nakaupo was commissioned. In 1633, a new and bigger church was built to replace the older and smaller one. The church stood for some time between 1646 and 1649. The government ordered its demolition for fear that the Dutch, who were at war with Spain, would use it and other churches near Manila for fortification. The orders were apparently implemented because on May 16, 1650, a license was given to the Jesuits to build a house and church of wood in Maragondon to replace the one that had been demolished. Repairs were made on the convent between 1666 and 1672. In 1687, another church was begun, although the construction was interrupted. Only in 1714 was it completed. The church was later transferred to the secular clergy in 1768, then later to the Augustinian Recollects in 1860. The church would later become a shelter and center of revolutionaries when Maragondon became a headquarters of the forces of General Emilio Aguinaldo in 1897, and it is said that it was in one of the rooms in the convent that Andres Bonifacio was kept in prison until his unfair trial and later his execution. After the revolution, the church was later given to the diocesan clergy who still administers the people of Maragondon up to this day. Because of the historic significance of the parish, it was declared a national cultural treasure in 2001. Since the enthronement of the image of Nuestra Señora de la Asunción in Maragondon, numerous miracles were attributed to her miraculous intercession and from granting favors to her devotees, healing the sick, helping childless couples to have children. One notable account of her miracles is that there was a man from Batangas who visited Maragondon that on his way home he got caught in the rain and suddenly a woman carrying a bayong offered him fresh and dry clothes. The man promised to return to Maragondon to return them, and when he did, he was surprised that his clothes were at the foot of the image of the Virgin in the high altar. Due to numerous miracles attributed to her intercession, the altar image, the Birheng Nakatayo of Nuestra Señora de la Asunción de Maragondon, was episcopally crowned on December 14, 1997. The devotion to Nuestra Señora de la Asunción de Maragondon continues to flourish up to this day. The devotees continues to flock her church in Maragondon, Cavite, and almost each household, street, and markers have an image of the Virgin in display or kept in their homes. The feast of the Maragondon's patronage is celebrated every August 15, the solemnity of the Assumption of the Blessed Mother, and it is celebrated with much festivity with a caracol held on the eve of her feast and a solemn procession on the feast day itself. Devotees, especially the sick, would visit her church every second Sunday of Easter to ask her intercession to heal them and their infirmities. Mula naman dito sa Our Lady of the Assumption Parish Church dito sa Maragondon, Cavite, tatawid na ako papuntang 13 Martires City, Cavite, next week. Isang simbahan ang pupuntahan ko doon, ang St. Jude Thaddeus Parish Church. Abangan niyo ako doon, guys! Next week! Bye-bye!